easy ones. I've had meeting minutes for the 24th. Herb, I think you had made some changes. I made some changes. Colleen, did you catch them both?
Yes, I did. Yes.
So I'm okay with that. Herb, how are you for the 24th?
Fine.
Okay.
Okay. I have got the timesheet for Colleen for the 2 weeks for 70 hours. Are you okay with that one, Herb?
I am okay with that one.
I am too, Colleen, so
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you.
Next one I have is the turnover sheet. And that one is, it looks like $410 for our permits. And then it looks like licenses are $725 for a total of $1135. Are you okay with that one, Herb?
That adds up just right.
Okay, and I'm okay with that one too.
Okay.
We've got a bill to Quill for $39.99 for Colleen's webcam. Are you okay with that one?
I can see it.
You can, okay. I'm okay with that too. So we're set
Okay.
with that, Colleen.
Okay, great.
I've got another one that I've got a perk test looking for an extension from Bobby Sheehan for a Carver, lot 8 Carver Street. And that one was done in April 26th, 2018. He's asking for our normal 2-year extension. That was a straightforward perk. Herb, there's no reason that we shouldn't give the standard extension on that.
And there's
Are
no
you okay
additional
with this?
money. No additional money is required, right?
Right.
None. All it is just a paperwork change to say we extend it to 4/26/22. And it's a routine thing that we do, Herb, unless there's something that was strange, like a crazy weather condition or beavers or something like that. But this one's not. It's straightforward.
Well, I'm glad there's no beaver fever. And I was looking
Yeah.
for money on here, but I didn't see it. But now I understand the issue. Thank you.
Okay. So, Colleen, we're all set with that.
Okay.
Now I'm looking. I still don't see Lee with us yet. Let me cross the. Herb, I'm gonna just cross. We can do some of the permits. We've got, let's see, retail food and tobacco for Iron Liquors doing business as Granby Liquors. That's a routine, Colleen, that's a routine permit.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you okay with that, Herb?
Yes, I have been in their store before examining their stuff. So yes, that's fine.
Okay.
I've also purchased in their store, by the way.
Okay. No open containers. Your food license for Dave's Natural Garden. That's routine, Colleen, I think, isn't it? That's on Amherst Street, I think.
That is on Amherst Street, and yes, you're correct with that.
Okay, so we're set with that, Kelly.
Okay.
Dickinson Farm, same food license. Are you okay with that? Herb, I am. Now
Yes,
that's the big store, yeah.
Yes, on
On
East State.
202.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, on 202. Yeah.
Now we've got retail food, frozen desserts, milk, food for Dunkin' Donuts. That's routine also.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. How are you, Herb?
yes, I have reviewed them in store. Lynn should be reviewing them now. That's not what we're talking about now, though.
No. In fact, are these, what used to happen is we would approve them at the meeting and then the inspector would approve it. I guess the two functions are different anyways. One is giving the license and then the other is, are the conditions in compliance?
That's right. These are the pink sheets, not to be confused with the actual review, which is something else entirely.
Okay. Colleen, is a JYD excavation, is John Dow, is that a routine? Is that just a renewal or is that brand new? Do you know?
They've had their license with us the last few years.
Okay,
Is that what you were asking? Yes.
so we're fine with that. Are you okay with that, Herb? Then it's a renewal.
Which is this? I'm sorry. This is the
this
last
is
one. Yes. Okay, that's fine.
JYD John Dow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Dow.
good, Colleen.
Yeah.
Leo Fugler is installer and hauler. That's for sure just a renewal. I'm okay with that. Are you, Herb?
Yes, I'm trying to find that one.
That's on the
Okay, that's
revised
about-
agenda that I sent. It was a revised agenda.
Okay,
That's on the revised one, Herb, it's 6 up from the bottom.
got it. Okay.
Okay. Installers for our Shambo builders. Colleen, is that a renewal also?
Yes, that's a renewal.
Okay, I'm set with that, Herb, on the renewal. Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Retail food license for Granby Grain. I think that's a routine renewal, isn't it,
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes, it is.
I'm set with that, Herb, if you are. That's third from the bottom.
Yes, there's very few foods that they have, some milk and maybe something else, but not much unless you're a dog or cat, then they have
Yeah.
Yeah.
some victuals for those.
Yeah. Cindy's food and frozen dessert. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, all right, didn't Herb, hear Herb.
yep. What?
Are you okay with that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the last one I have is Pizza Palace Food Establishment.
Well, I'm fine with a pink sheet for them, but when you go to review them, it's something else.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's very contentious. and it's not fun to review them.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So that the floor and the ceiling didn't solve that problem.
There's more than floor and ceiling. There's people.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Well, then that's got to be Lynn's part of it. Then.
Correct.
Now we're kind of getting into Lee's area. Well, I can go. There are two things that are easy. One of them is going out to the septic, the permits, Herb. One's easy because that's the one for Healy on Lot 1 Amherst Street. That's Pro Terra. I talked to them in the middle of last week. They were going to revise their design, and he was concerned that he wouldn't get it done by today. So we, just in case, and we withdrew it for this meeting. So that one's easy. We're not going to talk about it. The next one is Neil Jackson at 56 Harris Street. That is air. And it's a complete system. It's in an area that's kind of surrounded by a little pond. So the issues that we have there are that it's a high water table, it's very fast soils. You've got the wetlands that are in the back and around it, and there's a limited area to be working on. It's a house that's for sale. It's being sold. They were able to maintain the 100-foot well separation to both the tank and it requires it's also the design ends up with a pump into a raised bed that they can't fit anything bigger than a bed. It can't fit in there. And they've got concrete block to create the walls around the system to make it with plastic on the inside. And the block abuts the driveway. The driveway drops from the garage towards the road, and the block rises up from the edge of the driveway. They were able to maintain the 50-foot wetland separation that the state requires. They cannot come close to the town 100-foot separation that we waive, or we can waive on repairs. I was also concerned that when I see a 2.33 minute an inch rate, that's a funny kind of number when it's down near 2 minutes and an inch in that soil. And once you go above 2 minutes, the separation goes from 5 feet to 4 feet. And they're asking for a 4 feet to 3 foot variance for water table. However, if you look, they did not observe any water. They saw modeling, and they also, within 20 feet or 25 feet, had a difference in modeling level that was about a foot, which is just in that kind of fast soil. That water table gradient really isn't possible to have it that steep without water. I'm guessing that in times gone by, it was water sitting on the ledge. So I actually talked to Neil about what would happen if we didn't grant the foot variance, and I drove out and looked at it. There's no way that they're going to get any system in. So my feeling was that it probably isn't really only the 38 inches or 40 inches of separation. It's actually more than that. And my recommendation was that we approve the variance, the 4 to 3 feet. And Sheehan was the board representative, that we approve the septic application, and subject to fill. It's gonna need an electrical permit for the pump. The plumbing comes out of the house right in, touches a tank, so the building sewer has to be redone. So that's a plumbing permit is required. And because they're so close to the wetlands, they would need a conservation commission review and approval as well. What do you think of that one? Or
I don't have any of this information, Dick.
really, that should have, Colleen, Herb didn't get a drawing of this in his packet?
Well, that was from the last meeting, I think. You would have had the plan. Because that was put off till this, yeah, so you would have gotten the plan for the last meeting.
I see. Well, I can't comment. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was on site with Neil for the Title V, and Dick's comments all make perfect sense, Herb.
20-minute and then soil. I saw, I don't know whether it's a turnover or not, but in property, there's a sign, a for sale sign laying on the ground there, but no well, it's city water, a flat lot, a lot of area. It does require a pump. And when I reviewed it, I've talked to Alan. My suggestion is that we reject the application, that, as I said, the regulation that covers this right now is 310 CR 15.2406. And it states that absorption trenches should be used whenever possible. And in this case, it is clearly possible that there is plenty of room on the property. I actually did a 1-hour literature search on trenches versus beds, and all states and all people that I reviewed said the same thing, that the trenches do a better job of environmental protection, and they're much better with longevity. Alan has pushed primarily saying he would like to use beds rather than trenches, because in fact, he just sent out a thing that's somewhere around a $6,000 or $7,000 difference between the two systems. And
8,000.
when you look at 8,000, okay. And when you look at Title V, Title V does have a cost determination that you can use if cost is the reason for not following the regulation. But it's a big number, and that Alan's not submitted that. So along with that, so Alan is asked the board to rule on this. We did not close and reach an agreement. Alan also submitted another design that is for trenches, not the bed. And I did review that also. And that one absolutely complies. I would support that one. If we were going to do that one, that would be subject to fill, electrical permit, and plumbing permit. However, we can't do that right now. We really have to be ruling on Alan's proposal, and we have to get an up or down vote on that. And then depending on where we go, Alan would come and decide what he wants to do. What do we have for discussion? One other item is our routine policy is when a property is selling, that would be the time that we go for whatever major repair that would be an upgrade would be the time that we would ask for. So the floor is open, Herb and Lee.
In my packet, I've got, plans for the trench and the bed. I've got one of each plan presented to me.
Right, actually, what Alan asked is to submit those in the event, Alan talked to me about it, in the event that we rejected the application. Alan told me it was his intent when he came online that he was, if it was rejected, that he would ask to change it to be the trenches. But for right now, he asked that we would consider the bed.
Well, okay, so can we just accept the fact that, the bed is not what we're looking at and just go and move just right into the trench print? Is
No,
that
the proper the proper way to handle it would be, since Alan submitted with the bed and asked that we consider the bed, is to say, are we going to accept that application or reject it? And then, because it's not the board's job to choose one over the other, it's got to be Alan, the designer. But the first step is to say, if the board says we'll accept the bed, then there's no issue. If the board says, no, we're not going to accept that bed, then it's up to Alan to give us a proposal. His two rights are to propose a different fix or to go through the appeals process to the state.
If I remember some of the discussion from Alan, both of these are acceptable designs by the state. Is that correct?
That's not true. Alan can say that, but the state says just as you get in fact, if you look at a similar one, was at Greens, where there was a proposal for a tight tank. And there is a procedure for approving tight tanks, but you can't do it unless there's another alternative. So in my view, this is exactly the same thing.
You mean you can't do it unless there's no other alternative?
Well, this one, the Title V words, these are not mine. These are Title V that says absorption trenches should be used whenever possible. And this clearly, it is possible. And it is, in reality, in my view, it's the right solution.
But should is not must. The word should does not have the same legal aspect of must.
It's true. It's a different word. You're right. But if they didn't mean it, why would they even put it in there?
There's no way I can answer to why something was written, but should and must are two very different things. We should all wear masks. That's very different than we must all wear masks.
Well, then we get down to knowing that it is that the regulation said that that's what we should do. We can do it. And in fact, it's a much better system. And to say, so we're going to now say that because it's more expensive, we won't do that. Is that right? That's what the decision would be.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just saying if we're gonna talk it through, that would be the reason we would put in the less favorable, less recommended system would be to save someone some money. Otherwise, why would we do it?
Am I right in thinking this property is going to be marketed shortly? And if so, and you know, in the none of my business category, whatever the expense of the system in will be built into the price of the sale. Does that make sense? Or are we allowed to talk about that?
Alan's online right now. You could maybe ask Alan that. I can't tell other than to say when I drove by and looked at it, there's a for sale sign laying on the ground.
Okay.
Greetings. How are you all?
Hello,
today?
Alan.
Hi, Alan.
Thank you for having time with me tonight. I've already spoken at length with at least Lee and Dick about this, and both of you know, and we've emailed back and forth a lot. And I'm not wishing to compete. I'm not wishing to confront. I'm not wishing to prove that I'm right or anyone else is wrong or vice versa. I'm simply trying to give you perspective. And everything I say tonight will be based on 35 years of doing what I do. And I think you all appreciate, I hope you all appreciate that. So going forward, I respect whatever you ultimately decide, and I will abide by it. So the only thing that I heard when I first logged on that I didn't disagree, that I didn't agree with was the comment that Dick made that trenches work much better. I have to say that in my historical review, and I was hoping to put together a study once upon a time about this and present it as a talk, that long narrow leach fields work as well as trenches is what I've seen in my historical review of doing Title V's and whatnot. So while DEP does prefer trenches, it is due to the dispersional aspect of trenches. In their opinion, they thought that it spread out the effluent in a better way to protect groundwater quality. Now, you probably also know my background is in hydrogeology and groundwater quality. I work with contaminated waste sites also for the last 30 to 35 years. I have to be honest with you, once again there. I have never had a situation where I could see a direct relationship between well contamination and a trench versus field situation. So there's that element here. Now, but keep in mind, in this situation, it's different than most in Granby. We do have town water supplied by Ludlow. We're not in an aquifer protection zone as far as I know, and we don't have an on-site well. So that being said, Title V is protective of groundwater, whether it's a leach tank with proper separation, whether it's a leach field with proper separation and treatment, or a leaching trench system. So I continue to put forward that the difference in cost here does not merit the difference in approach to design. Should we have been in a situation together where we have wells surrounding us? One sec, let me just finish and then I'll let you go. If we had wells surrounding us and we really had issues with abutters and those kinds of things, I would agree with Dick 100%, and I would want to spread the effluent out. That's a good approach for that scenario. Having said that, I guess I'll just let it go because that's really where my opinion resides in this property in general.
Ellen, before I'm going to back up, let us vote on it, but I will tell you that if I can guarantee you, if you go on the internet right now and look at the merits of these two systems, you're other than some places in Maine and for extremely shallow water tables where they say they can't build a trench, everybody says the trench is better. And I've tried to dig it up. There was an article that the federal government did that said because of the failure that occurs at the bottom of a leaching facility, their recommendation, if you could build them, was to have dosed V-shaped trenches with no bottom area that allows the thing to be loaded and
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
and then vented anyways, at this point, I don't care if it, I think you're never going to agree with where I am right now. And I don't want to spend tonight killing this. I just like to have a vote, see where the vote goes. My recommendation is don't approve this, and Herb, throw your vote down and see where we are. And Lee, you do the same thing, and let's move on.
Can I offer one more point after that, Dick? That is that I fully respect your desire to see trenches in Granby, and I will do my best in the future going forward to see trenches on sites where there's not a huge cost difference, and and certainly new construction's off the table. In other words, I will do new construction trenches wherever completely possible. There's no question. And I think lately you've seen that on all my plans for new construction. But when it comes to repairs and remedial situations and the cost differences associated with them, I just ask for your respect in that matter.
And I'll also look, and our policy is that when people have used it, going to pass the system on to somebody, instead of saying the guy who's used the system and worn it out, and he puts the money in his pocket and goes away and passes on the system to the guy that's going to receive it, we typically say that's a good time to upgrade the system, and that's our policy, not a law. It's just what we typically do. So, anyways, I just want to get off of this because we'll spend tonight on something that doesn't mean very, very much. And if we just vote, I just call for a vote. Do I hear a motion to vote?
Well, just a quick question, please. I'm looking at and humor me here because I'm not an engineer. I'm looking at the bed, 18 by 48. And I'm looking at the trench, and is on the bed design, Alan, and maybe if I read this more, you wouldn't ask this question, but
in the code right now. Go ahead.
Is the reserve on the bed design built in the way it appears to be built into the trench system? Would that account for the difference in fill?
No, and I don't know if you saw the correspondence between Dick and I that indeed the Commonwealth considers the sidewall distance from trench to trench measurement for whether a reserve can go between trenches. And what I put together on this Plan B, if we'll call it that, for the trenches, does not include sand for reserve area. That would have to be a 9-foot offset between the trenches. So that's not involved in the difference here.
So that's not there at all.
That's not there.
Okay.
I will point out that also, now that you bring up the section code, that later in the code in section, while Dick has pointed out perfectly correctly that it does call for trenches where possible. But in a later section of the code, it also says that fields, trenches, chambers are all components within the code that can be used. So it's a bit of a conflict there, but yet I do agree with Dick that they're looking for the preference of trenches, because I remember when this study was done, I'm just saying there are situations where fields seem like a better solution. That's all.
No, I think Alan deserves something, but if we don't have a motion to, in fact, I'll make the motion to take a vote. So one of you guys, if we're gonna have a vote, has to second it. And if we don't, then Alan has the right to have this board make a decision.
Alan has the right to what?
To expect this board's gonna make a decision. So if one of you
Got
guys
it.
won't,
No,
second
I
the
understand
motion to vote.
what you said now. Thank you. I'd like to hear what Lee has to say. He has a lot of experience.
Thank you for putting my feet on the fire, Herb. I think a no-lose situation here. I mean, I think from what I've heard this evening, Dick and Alan both agree, I'm speaking out of turn, tell me, that the trench system affords a little bit more environmental protection. There may be a small cost factor increase in that category, but I guess at the end of the day, and you know, and I'm sure there's arguments pro and con, but my sense is that that's what we're supposed to be doing as much as we can, just protecting the environment here with this or any system. So that being said, if the trench system affords us a bit more protection, then that seems like a good idea. I would also propose to somebody, and maybe this is the wrong time, so tell me, whether or not the town of Granby can, being the board, head down the path, because Alan and I discussed this, of whether or not we can initiate some type of a bylaw in this topic going forward.
So how do you vote?
Could do that, but not tonight.
Not tonight. So if we're tasked with getting a functioning system, either one is fine. But am I correct in thinking that the trench is a little better than a bed in environmental protection? Then that would have to be my vote, to go with the optimal environmental protection.
We
So
still
your
haven't
vote-
had a motion, a second to vote. So we can keep talking, but I still made a motion to vote and we haven't seconded that.
All right, so I
So-
will second
so
that. Can
where's
we bring it to a vote?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is the vote will be, do we accept, the vote will be to accept Alan's design for a bed as proposed. And it will be either a yes or no. And then if we vote yes, then it's all done. If we vote no, we throw it back to Alan. He's already told us he's gonna ask us to consider trenches. So I'll have a vote. All in favor of accepting this for the bed? Signify by
sorry.
saying yes.
So we're voting for the bed now.
We're voting for the bed.
Yes.
What is that, Herb? You said yes?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I would
I
go back.
couldn't see.
I would go back to my should versus must discussion that I had earlier. So I would vote yes for the bed.
Okay, Lee, what is your vote?
I think I'm gonna go for a no vote in the interest of a better filtration system for the environmental considerations, based upon the fact that we appear to have a 30-inch water table.
Okay, and I will also vote no. So the vote, it did not pass, Alan. So your options,
Got it.
you've got two options at this point. You can either tell us that you're gonna ask us to reconsider for the trench option, or you can tell us basically, I don't agree, I'm going through the appeals process.
No, respectfully, I ask you to look at the trench plan and vote on that.
And we have the trenches
So-
in our packet.
But as I said, Lee and Herb, I did, when I did review that with Alan, and if we were to go with that, we would end up approving that subject to fill an electrical permit and a plumbing permit, if we vote yes for this.
So
I
moved.
move that we vote for the trench option. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Herb made the motion, correct?
Made the motion, Dick.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Then,
Yeah,
then
Herb made a motion.
second.
I will.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Lee?
Yes.
And I say aye too. So it carried unanimously, Alan. Colleen, so it was approved, subject to our fill restrictions, of water, a plumbing permit requirement and electrical permit requirement.
Okay,
Thank you all.
So we're done with you, Alan.
Yeah, I know. I just want to go forward and say thank you. We'll move
Okay.
forward together. I'll consider this a continued learning experience, as is every job and every day that I move forward.
Okay. Okay, good night.
Right?
Alan,
Now
thank you for
our-
hearing that, everybody.
You bet. Good night.
Good night.
On our agenda now is Dennis Doucette, and I've got, Marion Mason and the Jingle Bell Bazaar. We've had new plans submitted. Dennis, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone.
Okay, Dennis, unless we've got a bunch of questions, I'm just gonna let, I'll throw my 2 cents on the board, see if the board can close on this. I think we're close. I certainly can agree with what I guess it was Marion submitted, but the current plan and supported. How about you and Lee?
You there?
Yeah,
Hello?
Not
here.
hearing it.
Oh,
Anything.
okay.
I saw the sketch. I think, I don't know who wrote it, but I saw the sketch the other night with the layout and the offset with the help. So the one-way direction, spacing, mask, etc. outside event. I believe that's everything that we were looking for at our last discussion, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm not sure that that's really true, Lee. I think it would be far better if money wasn't handled and people weren't going to pile up at the cashier, which I'm sure they will. But far be it from me to cast dispersion on the Christmas season. So
No, but but you bring up a valid point, and I just thought of this because of the way that we try to protect our employees. Does the cashier's booth have a three-sided some type of plexiglass or something with like a 6-inch slot at the base for money to go underneath or something like that versus wide open?
Is Marion with us?
I guess what you could do is you could, as part of this approval, I guess we could require that, Lee, that they certainly could, you're not talking about a big fancy thing. They could probably build something if Dennis agreed to it.
Well, if Dennis didn't agree to it, we could refuse to accept this. So either Dennis agrees to it or we say no.
Oh, I definitely agree to
Well, then that's easy.
That's easy.
it. Easy peasy, man.
And we all agree that it's not going to be inside, it's going to be outside.
Absolutely outside.
Okay.
So if we close on this and we can let Dennis go and he can get the bazaar headed, Herb and Lee,
I agreed.
Well, I'm not going to drive by to monitor whether this is in fact the way things transpire, but I hope it is.
Well, I mean, I agreed, Herb. I would anticipate probably I don't know, maybe a 3-foot high piece, at least facing the cashier with maybe a 6 or 8 inch slot on the bottom for the transaction, but the 3-footer will protect the worker from the purchaser, and probably at least a side piece where people are coming down towards the cashier of another, from the ground, a tabletop up. So basically the person is in at least a 2-sided cubicle, which would extend above their head, for everyone's protection.
Well, everyone ought to remember that by the time this transpires, the whole COVID epidemic is going to be roaring way more than it is right now. It's going to be a disaster. So I just hope everyone pays attention and tries to keep everyone safe, because otherwise it's going to be a disaster. Not necessarily the jingle bells, this particular thing, but everything in our community. Our community is rampantly increasing its number of cases. It's not going to go down for a good period of time. So be careful, Dennis. Be careful. Pay attention to the public. Be
I
empathetic.
appreciate your advice.
Yeah, and and I remember the conversation at our last meeting, we talked about the fact that, and I, not to speak out of line, but I'm guessing a good majority of the help is going to be my age or older, which is a risk category just because of the fact that we got to be this old, and we have to treat that. And Herb is exactly correct here. This is not a casual, it'll be okay routine. This is potentially and not to be an idiot, this is potentially a life and death situation here if we don't pay attention. We're trying to be good guys by letting this occur, But we need the Jingle Bell Bazaar people to be good guys and really overkill the safety aspect of this entire thing.
Protect our
Yeah,
community.
Dennis, you should
Dennis.
know. Go ahead, Herb.
I said, protect our community, Dennis. That's all I said.
Yeah.
No worries,
you
my friend.
Just
I'll do
know,
my
Dennis,
Yeah, this is,
you
I
need
mean,
to,
this is
it's
the
not
time
gonna
to
be
be,
funny.
yeah.
This is, Dennis, you have to know that as we're tracking this disease, it's going up and up and up. Our town, as Herb just said, our town is behaving like a densely packed city for the way this disease is spreading. And as Lee says, there's lots of old people here. There's a reasonable chance that this event could end up being, I won't say reasonable chance, but there certainly is a chance that those elderly people in your parish, you're putting at risk for this. And it is not a good time to be doing this, but I also will go along.
Let's end it.
We're ending it.
Yeah.
It's over. Good night, Dennis.
Yes, did I get it? We're good?
We're-
Yes,
we're
goodbye.
good.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
Have a
let's-
pleasant evening.
Let's go through the rest of what we have here. We've got a well permit for, and I don't know how you can do that. I've got on my list a well permit for Tim Healy on lot 1 on Amher Street, which I'm not sure how we can do yet, Lee, because there's not an approved septic system designed for that.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, there's nothing on paper, nor has anyone contacted me to go there, but it wouldn't do any good anyway because we can't put the cart in front of the horse.
Okay,
Okay, the next one is a well permit for Kamiga, not for,
Yes, that I did
That's-
that with Alan Price months ago.
okay.
so what do we have to do? Just sign off on that?
Yeah, I was there several months ago with Alan Weiss. Just chance meeting, and it's plenty of room. It's a big lot all by itself.
Right,
A lot of this.
Okay. All right. So.
okay, so that's just,
Be signed off.
so Colleen, what is that issue? Is it, do we just have to approve the permit?
Yes, yeah, I just have to have it in the minutes, so I know I can sign off. The same thing with the corner of South and East Street, because they sent us a water report, but nowhere was the well permit, approved at a meeting, so that was,
I've never.
Is that one done? Well, I drove by there and there's a well there right
that,
now.
and they sent the water today. They sent that water, report today.
Okay. For what it's worth, there's been no contact, at least across my desk, to visit that location for anything.
That's interesting because that's a very, if you recall, Lee and Herb, that was that really tight lot. That, who knows if they put the well in the right place?
Well, yeah, that lot's been kicking around for the last 20 years, trying to find some way to put a house there. And there was not much leeway on flexibility on that piece of property.
Well, it's interesting. That means they put a well in without a permit. Now, how do you have to get in touch with the don't know, maybe if you go to the building inspector, you can find out who the permit is, the building permit is to, and tell them they've got to get in touch with Lee and have the well located to make sure that, or verify that it's in the right place. I don't, Herb and Lee, do you see someone's got to know that it's in the right place, because then we're not gonna put a septic system in, and maybe that ends up being in the wrong place.
Well, that being said, maybe the firm that designed the SAS needs to verify what's going on over there.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know who's in charge of the project.
They're looking for a sign off for the building permit.
Well, certainly not having a well permit in a well. Maybe it's no longer our responsibility. Maybe we have to go to the owner and say the engineer's got to certify that the well is in the spot that he said it was supposed to be.
Well, I guess that makes sense, because at this point in time, there has to be some type of a chain of responsibility with who's ever running this company, putting things and circumventing the normal process that the town of Granby runs on.
So who determined where the well is supposed to be?
It would have been the engineer on the septic design.
But there is no septic design.
Oh yeah, there is.
Oh, we have that?
Yeah, there is. There's a fancy one.
Well, I'm
Okay, so
sorry. What is the issue?
Is that septic system, have they started the process to put that in the ground, Dick?
No, they've been doing a bunch of grading out there. Looks like their cellar hole is in there. So the issue right now is we've got a well that's been installed without a permit, and we don't know that it's in the right place.
Okay.
So they located a septic system without locating a well of an appropriate distance from the septic system. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. That's what we have is an approved septic system design with a well location on it. We have that. So we've got a drawing that shows it. What we know is that the well installer put a system in without getting the permit, and no one has verified that the well is in the spot that it's supposed to be.
I see. Okay.
Maybe at this point in time, the engineer of the septic system needs to possibly contact one of the three of us to do an on-site look-see to go forward, so everyone's is aware that we're okay as far as separation goes, especially on new construction and especially in that lousy location.
But you're saying that this is a difficult lot. So is it difficult because you can't get the separation from the septic system? What's the difficulty here?
Things
It
have
was
to
a
be done
very-
precisely, but it can be done.
It was a tight
I can't hear
lot
you,
with a
Dick.
lot.
Yeah, I've got a terrible connection tonight, and I don't know how I can fix it.
So what is the issue here with the well? Is it the distance from the septic system? Is it where it's actually located? What is the issue? I'm still unclear.
The issue, I believe, Herb, is that it's been put in and no one is exactly sure where it was put.
Uh-huh.
So
And-
they
And there is a septic system already installed?
No,
No.
no. So it's,
This sounds like the Keystone Cops. What is going on here?
what happens is we bypassed the permitting process. So we've got a drawing that says where it's supposed to be. Somebody goes, and when you get that, what happens is Lee usually goes out with the well guy and say, I've got this drawing. Let's make sure the well is in the right spot. That didn't occur, but there is a pipe in the ground. We don't know if the pipe's in the right spot.
So the well has been drilled. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That's what I'm being told.
Yeah,
So
they
the
sent the
well is-
water report today.
So the well is drilled. We don't know where the septic system is going to be. We don't know
But we
what the
do know
separate.
that.
What?
We do know where the septic system's supposed to be. We do know that. There's a drawing, an approved drawing. But it has to be very precise. That's the problem when Lee says it's difficult. There isn't a lot of extra space. And if you make a mistake, it's a mistake that's very costly. So at this point, there's a well that's there. Someone needs to know that the well is in the right spot.
But yet we make all kinds of dispensations about well distance from septic systems.
Correct.
Yeah. So what's your issue?
The issue
Well, these guys, they took
is
some
we can't
short,
move forward if the well.
shortcut.
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
They just simply took a shortcut by not notifying the board that they were intending on putting the well on site, knowing that we had the necessary separation to the proposed septic system. So we're trying to keep it at least 100 feet away from the design, which I think on that place, the septic can only go one place only because of the lot and because of the neighbors. So if they put the well in the wrong place and it's stepping onto the septic system of their own lot, it could be under the state code of distance.
The state code is 50 feet, not 100 feet. Isn't that correct?
No, it's 100 feet. No, 100 feet.
Granby is 100 feet.
No, for the leach field is 100 feet for both. The tank is 50 feet. But not with the leach field to the well is 100. It's really simple. If you look and say, who's the guy that didn't do the right thing right now? It's the well driller. We ought to get the well driller in and say, look at, how'd you put that there and where'd you put it? And let them document it.
Well, then why don't we stop talking about it and have them do that? And have the person come in. Why are we talking about this?
Colleen, can you find out who put the well in? And
Yes.
tell them, look at, you didn't put in with a permit and we want to know where you put it and how you decided where to put it and get him to document it. And if someone has to move something, he'll be the one that's responsible.
Yeah, the burden
The board,
should
no.
not be. The burden's
I
not on the board.
move that we move on to the next item.
So that's what we'll do.
Okay.
Title V inspection report, 145 South Street. And then we've got 284 rear East State Street. All right, Lee, are those okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So Colleen, you can mark both of those as received.
Okay.
Uh, We've got an item, West State Street, 121 West State Street. We've got a planning board request for comment. My comment, that lot has a valid septic site evaluation. I would like to see it put on a drawing. Because if they put the building on top of the only spot that works, and then they decide they want a toilet, they're not gonna be able to put it. Herb,
Dick, your
what
comments
do you
are,
have to say?
your comments are breaking up. I can't understand what you're saying.
I'm gonna switch. I don't know if this is gonna be any better.
Your first comment sounds better.
Okay, let's see if it stays with me. So on this lot, there's a building proposed. My comment was there was a site evaluation and a septic area approved. It's not shown on the drawing. And on the building drawing that I saw, it doesn't say anything about plumbing. I would just like to request that the septic site investigation be included in the drawing.
Do we need a motion on that, or we're just going to send a letter back to them?
Herb, do
So
you have anything besides that?
This is not the South Hadley water supply?
No, the sewage only goes up to Finn's Hill, which is the top of that hill. This is on the east side of it.
I see. Okay. Well, we need some more information.
So Colleen, if you could send the planning board, say the board is requesting that the perk data, perk locations be shown on the drawing,
Okay,
on the site drawings.
okay.
We've got a thing that says, oh, the schools put out the new COVID protocol. It looks to me like they were just the school medical advisor just modified the protocol that they had, so it matched the protocol, not the latest CDC one, the one before that essentially brought in the 10-day with a post 8-day test for quarantine. And Nancy sent it in, and I guess we just have to say we go along with it.
Hi, Dick. It's Nancy. The protocols are in alignment with DESE, as well as the latest Board of Health quarantine information that came out November 18th. So we updated everything to reflect that.
Lee and Herb, are we okay with that?
Well, this is all so fluid, and changes are taking place at regular intervals. We just have to be easy about this.
I do have a question that the school physician and I, Dr. Wadzinski, have been going back and forth with DESE and the Department of Public Health regarding the Board of Health clearance for folks who are COVID positive with symptoms but not exposed. We were wondering what the board's thoughts were, if we needed to get a verbal or written clearance from folks. I've called DESE 4 times. I have left messages. I've emailed the individual who Carol had reached out to and have not gotten a response back, other than she had recommended Granby giving a verbal where everybody else, if they're not from Granby, would get a written. And then Dr. Tom had spoken with DPH and they had talked about the individual who was positive calling the contact tracers to get cleared, and have something in writing. So we wanted to touch base with you and see, what your thoughts are, because we're kind of getting different things to make sure that we're uniform.
Oh, God. Nancy, this is Herb. That was complex enough that I couldn't follow it in real time, all that
Okay.
you just said, to be able to make a comment. So I'm sorry. I just can't.
Okay.
What we do have, Herb, though, is that clearance document that Colleen ends up signing, that ends up coming through Sharon. Sharon can't issue it because she's not from the Granby Board of Health, but Sharon ends up, because she ends up being the contact tracer, she can get in touch, if it's requested, that she can get in touch with Colleen, who then can give the document.
So we would be able to get something in writing then from Granby. Is that what you're saying, Dick?
Yes, we have a procedure
Okay.
for that. Colleen does issue them.
Okay. So in terms of, like, obviously we have staff that are not living in Granby. Do you recommend that we get it written from their Board of Health as well? They provide that before returning for this particular circumstance?
What's happening to me is I'm breaking up so much I can't hear you.
Nancy, this is just too much. All these people living outside of Granby, boards of health that do or don't respond. I'm just not sure that I can make any kind of reasonable answer to what you're asking.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
mean-
I can't.
Well, no, Herb, it's valid that you're right. There's too much going on for a quick answer. I think we need whatever you want us to do, Nancy, not to be simplistic, but write it down. We need to review it, study it. Documentation is huge in this environment that we're all into. And there's too much on the plate for us to miss something. And I'm not saying we're trying to sneak something by us, but the more we know, the better we can at least try to protect our students, faculty, neighbors, town, etc.
Okay.
I mean,
This
there's just
is
so much.
This is coming from the guidance from the Department of Ed, so that's why we just wanted some, clarification from you guys, because we're not getting a consistent answer from the Department of Ed or DPH in terms of what that looks like. So, and that's why we were turning to you for that.
Well, you're not getting a consistent answer, and it's hard to get a consistent answer from us. The only consistent comment that I might make is this is going to get much worse, Nancy, as you well know. And I think it's going to make all of these issues irrelevant, because in my estimation, we're going to close down everything before very long, because the magnitude of the spread of this is going to be such that there isn't any other option. So that's just my personal opinion. It's not a board opinion. And it's carries no weight other than my impression.
Okay.
But it's interesting, as you're noting, you can't get straight answers from anyone else either, because no one knows what to do, because it is changing continuously.
Yeah, I kind of use the terminology a moving target.
Yeah, it's certainly a moving target.
Okay.
So just hang in with us. We'll try and work with you. We want to work with the schools. We want to give best recommendations. The problem is this is all so fluid.
I understand. And I appreciate your honesty and your efforts in helping us. So thank you.
Again, that's only my opinions, not the board.
Well, I can put something down like Lee has requested, and I can send it to you guys to review with the wording from Desi, so you guys can take a peek at it if you're willing.
Thank you. Yes,
You're
that
welcome.
would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing that's coming, and I don't know if you can hear me, that my connection, I have to shut everything down to get it better, but I'm not going to. But there's the new one, the CDC 7-day one,
Yes,
that for quarantine, that is, they're just doing it because they're saying if we stay with the old one, people aren't going to do it. So we're going to do this because it's better than nothing. That doesn't seem like a good thing to be implementing in the schools.
well, I think it's emblematic, Dick, of just how squirrely all of this is right now. No one understands fully what to do. And if they did, we would all be doing it, but that's just not the case.
Yeah, right now our guidance has shifted to the quarantining with the 14 days unless they're tested on day 8. The new guidance that came out on November 18th, that hasn't shifted to the CDC guidance yet. So right now that's what we're acting under.
Yeah.
Where would people get a PCR test in our community, Nancy?
Depends on the sites and where they're looking and if they can even get an appointment. The folks that we've had that have been exposed, several of them have expressed frustration in trying to get appointments. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wide range.
So it's just great. We have all these recommendations, but they can't be implemented.
Yeah, it's getting more challenging, and as you guys have discussed before, the time frame from getting tested versus test results now is also kind of expanded. So folks are waiting longer also to get those results.
Yeah.
I have just so everybody does know it, is that on my other little project that I'm working on as the board's member to the school health and safety committee, I did talk to Carol, the superintendent, and said that I've just not having talked to Herb about it, but exactly what Herb just said, that this thing I think is going to blow up. And when it blows up, we probably should get ourselves, the schools should be in a position that if the board comes and says, this is not tolerable to keep going like this, that if there's some position that's well short of implementing the hybrid plan, if the school said, gee, we would like to make sure we took care of our special needs kids and I don't know, and kindergarten kids, whatever, to say this is a plan that we're going to that we would propose if the Board of Health came and said this is just intolerable. We can't keep going. So the schools probably, my advice was that they should be working on that. Well, it is now 10 minutes of 8, and my internet connection is horrible, horrible. So I'm not sure that we should be continuing, or maybe I can certainly just sit back and let, it looks like Herb, you and Lee look like you're okay with connection, so maybe you guys can just keep going.
Um,
I think we're-
my comment, Dick, would be the following. In the midst of this, I've been sipping some white wine, and it is totally insufficient. I need to be sipping something far stronger. So I would move that we adjourn.
I can
Herb?
support that.
Herb, I appreciate your honesty. Good for you. Have
Maybe
one
the
for
next
me.
meeting- I'm going to get myself a glass for the next meeting too, Herb.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then let's
Let
call
me
it
ask
quits for
Colleen.
tonight.
Let me ask Colleen one quick question. Colleen, that last positive, did that fall in a dense area or in a less dense area? Or did you have time to pin it?
I think I did pin it. No, I think it was in a less dense area. from
Less
what I
dense.
remember. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Good night.